Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Sketchcraft Shout-Out. I am Robbie, aka Sketchcraft, joining me tonight to talk about, I think, his most favorite, or second favorite, we'll find out, TMNT comic of all time, Bodycount. Uncle Jerk, are you here?
I'm here, and we're here to talk about Bodycount. Nice.
A little cup of coffee, little cup of Bodycount. Hey, man, so is this your favorite, like, Turtles book, or is it the Zuli stuff? Which one?
It's my second favorite Turtles work that's not the core, like, I consider the first 4 issues in the Mirage series to be kind of their own thing. Only really those first 4 issues. And then, like, outside of that, you've got stuff that's totally removed from continuity. And, like, definitely it is either Bodycount or the Zuli stuff. And I honestly, like, the older I get, I think I might like the Zuli stuff better because it's a little bit better written. But
yeah.
Bodycount is so god dang fun, man.
Well, and the Zuli stuff actually features the turtles, and this features Julie's train with a turtle in it. So we'll get to it. This right here is not the actual cover art from the series. This was done by Eastman back in 2018 for a hardcover reprint. We're going to kind of start with it because I wanted to get into the making of this book before we get into the actual issues. People aren't familiar, and there was a nifty little thing. I'm just going to read this from Kevin Eastman. This is the actual from the trade. So he says, in the beginning, although I love all the characters in the TMNT universe, I've always had the most affection for Raphael and Casey with their brotherly love-hate relationship. Teaming the two up has always been a hoot. Their any means to an end style was always interesting, to say the least. Early Casey and Raphael adventures like Fun and Guns and Complete Carnage and Radical were great, but they were just teasers. I always knew there was much more to unearth, and it was a question of when and how. Fun with Guns is great. We'll have to get to that at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to start, like, just pulling out random issues of TMNT at some point, or like small arcs.
Hey everybody, we're on the road to 20,000 subs in 2025. Right now we're at 17.2. So if you could subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, like the video, click that little notification bell so you know when videos come out, new episodes of the shout out. That would be awesome and help grow the channel, because let's be honest, if it don't grow, we don't show. Hey, what's up, my Scribblies? Rob here. When you're done with this video, head over to sketchcraft.com. Check this out. It's my own Squarespace website, not being paid to let you know where I made it, but just letting you know where I made it. It's got my full portfolio of work, everything from Spyro, Crash Team Rumble, Berserk Boy, some stuff I did on Overwatch too. Hey, look at that. Actually, we're spending like 4 months on this, so it's the best place to put it, sketchcraft.com. So you want to see some projects that never made it to the finish line, like a video game called Savior Machine. You go right here to sketchcraft.com, you could check out some of this stuff. Man, I did this stuff in 2009, folks. This is a project where I was going to have a chicken, a post-apocalyptic, pretty environment take down cybernetic dinosaurs in 2010. Sounds familiar. You ever hear of a game like that? But all this and more at sketchcraft.com. Want to grab some original art or lock in a commission? Check it out. Click on the shop button, and this store's got you covered. And if you like hearing me act like a caffeinated goblin about art life and other nonsense, the blog is right here as well. Like this article, Why Creative Work Isn't Always a Straight Line. Check it out. Sign up for my stupid newsletter, and I'll blast you some cool stuff straight to your inbox. Sketchcraft.com. It's not just what's drawn, it's what's between the lines that counts. Oh, 100%. So here we go. Coming to America. Fast forward to August 1994. Melting Pot's book signing tour was heating up. Simon Bisley and I were having a blast while we were hanging out in Northampton. After the Words and Pictures Museum signing, fate struck. I asked Simon if he'd ever seen any of John Woo's all-out action flicks. He incorrectly answered no. This answer, of course, meant we had to rent a bunch of Woo videos to watch tonight. After watching Killer, Hard Boiled, and Bullet in the Head, one after the next, we had this brilliant idea. Let's try to capture the longest-running gun battle in comics history. Right, mate, so with the old 1% inspiration part done, the 99% perspiration part started with my Casey sketchbook, which I guess he did this right here. It's a fun little piece.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. Books 1 and 2, yeah. For the female lead, I always wanted a strong, powerful, independent, uniquely styled woman. For Johnny, yeah, we're talking about Julie Strain here, folks. Okay, Midnight is Julie Strain. I mean, that's not obviously there's different interpret, but the one in the book, it's essentially his wife slash I don't know, wife. Were they married? I know they were.
I don't think they were married at the time.
Girlfriend. Okay, it's Julie Strain. He's just not saying.
Yeah.
So for Johnny, I had in mind a soft but handsome dude who had been scarred in his young life. Which I do is insane killer. Folks, you probably don't know what body count is, so I should probably just give you a brief. This is a turtle book in which a whole nother movie's happening, and Casey Jones and Raphael fall into it. All right. There's a bad guy named Johnny Woo Woo, which is hilarious, and this main chick named Midnight. That's an early. She doesn't look like that in the actual comic. It's a different interpretation. And he's trying to kill her, and then it gets batshit crazy. So that's basically it. And Casey and Raph sort of go along for the ride. For Johnny, I had mentioned his handsome dude who had been scarred in his young life, which led to insane killer behavior. I wanted to leave Johnny with a glimmer of heart. The only sister. Okay, whatever. This isn't again. Well, I want to know about the making of. Where are we? Similar to our collaboration on Melting Pot, Simon and I wanted to feed off each other for inspiration for Bodycount. First, we would do an intercontinental telephone call. Oh man, this is 94 or 93, right?
I was gonna say, can you imagine those bills, bro? Oh.
I do, because when I was in the army station in Germany, this girl gave me her card to call her with and told me to call her every night. And within a month, I owed $1,000. I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah.
God.
So I had to take out a loan because you can get like $1,000 signature loan when you're in the army. So I took out the signature loan and just paid it off and didn't talk to her ever again. I was like, thanks for that. Anyway, to talk about the story points. Then I would break the story down in layouts and send. Okay, that's what I wanted to know, because when I was reading this book again, I was like, these layouts feel like Kevin's layouts, and I've colored Kevin's storyboards, so I know what it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Okay, I just wanted to ask you if you got so that solves that question. Send them to Simon to polish off in final pencils and inks. Simon and I find this basic system allows a lot more brain time to be spent on twisting and playing with the final story and art right up to the last minute. Like originally, I had the most heavy violence occurring off panel. Oh, that's weird, right?
Yeah.
People don't know. I think this originally appeared as a one issue with Mirage, right?
Okay, so the weird thing, 2-second like little diversion here as well. One of the other things that sets Casey Jones and Raphael apart, because this is issue 1 that we're looking at the cover, and it is called Casey Jones and Raphael, not Body Count.
Right.
This is by Mirage. Okay, you see it, Mirage Publishing. This
love
is
that.
issue
love
1.
That pizza logo.
Yeah, this is like 94, right?
Yeah.
But then everything kind of got weird in the TMNT universe, self-publishing with Mirage and all of this stuff.
No,
so
you know what happened? Capital City went under.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Stuff got weird. It fractured. It was like
they basically ran out of distributors and couldn't afford to print, and TMNT had to go to Image essentially.
Exactly. So it necessitated the move to Image. But the thing is that Image decided to reboot continuity entirely. So nothing that Image ever published is considered part of Mirage continuity. Casey Jones and Raphael, which had issues 2, 3, and 4 published as Body Count under Image, however, are Mirage continuity.
Right. I just like Mirage's graphic design sense, you know?
It is the only book that came out through Image that does the Mirage years justice. And that's not to slam on Frank Frosco or any of those guys or Larson, because I like a lot of that Image TMNT stuff for like what it is, but it is not the Mirage Turtles.
Right. So I'm just gonna when Simon sees my layouts, he says, we can't have that. It's got to be on the bloody page. This give and take is what leads to the highest flying eyeball scenes in any comic ever. Go ahead, folks, count them. It's true. My original layouts are shown here in blue, with Simon's incredible completed work in black and color. So this is what Kevin's sketching, and then that's like a page that Bisley put together. Kevin's layouts are just super dope, man. You know?
Oh, they're amazing. And I love looking at this comparison. It was super cool because body count has always been fairly elusive. It never got really reprinted until IDW did it in 2018 or so, I think. And like, I always had heard stories that like this is one of the few stories that Eastman ever worked on where he did kind of what he did with the original creation, where he passed this stuff directly back and forth, like collaborative, 100%.
Yeah, because I can
Bouncing
tell you when I'm
off.
reading this and I see this cart like this, I'm like, that's like
Yeah,
Kevin Eastman, you
yeah,
know, like
all
100%.
day.
Yeah. And like same with this pose, you know, and you can see like, I mean, that's classic.
And Bisley is doing a really cool, like dialed back version of his pen and ink work too.
Also
Like,
interesting, look how big these 5 panels are, and then Bisley,
oh, that's interesting.
he changed,
Yeah.
he changed all the scale. I almost think like I would have preferred these panels to take up all this and this to be like a full page spread, or like, you know, two panel page,
Yeah.
you know, but because it is a little easier to read Kevin's layouts right there.
It's much easier to read Kevin's layouts than Bisley's finished pages. That's for sure.
And there's something, so I wanted to know, like, if you look at, you know, obviously Keith Giffen and Simon Bisley were co-collaborators, you know, Lobo, everything else. But like when Giffen ends up doing Infanticide, he like mixes the Bisley, like did Bisley mix Keith Giffen in, or did Keith Giffen mix Bisley in? Which way did it? I asked because this sort of stuff, like the buildings that, you know, Bisley does in here,
Yeah.
really were, you know, reminds
I
me a lot of the Infanticide stuff. Like,
Now, this is totally from just like me inferring things from interviews because I don't think he's ever like directly addressed it, but I've been researching Keith Giffen because I am going to be doing a piece on him. Sadly missed. And I really think that if you look at his work before and after he worked with Giffen, he took a shitload away from Giffen's ability to do minimalist line work and incorporate that into his hyper detailed stuff. I think that Trencher is a great example of Keith Giffen pulling from Bisley. I think this is a great example of Bisley pulling from Giffen.
yeah, there's just like this back and forth, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Plus, like when I saw this layout in here with the faces in the middle, I'm like, that has to be a Kevin Eastman thing, because who does that, you know? Like, and then there it is, this right here.
Yeah.
Kevin would do these kind of like layouts in Turtles, which I always love because it's not like a typical comic, you know?
No, he has a very unique sensibility. He didn't learn to do comics from comics.
Yeah, or from the Marvel Comics way, right? This right here, I did look up, and the story I read was that this original art's on 22 by 14. And it was just a sketch he was doing that Kevin loved and made it the cover. It really wasn't even intended to be.
No. A lot of this stuff is like stuff that Bisley would sketch up and send over, have or show, and then would get finished out because Eastman was obsessed with it. He's just a huge fan of his. And this series, I think, in a lot of ways, is a love letter to that relationship, which shows.
Let's wrap it up with this one. So,
Yeah.
there you have it. A bunch of cool memories of the working process from 22 years ago. Seems like only yesterday, 1 minute, and 100 years ago, the next. Regardless, all of my recollections of working with Simon on this project are near the top of my favorites. I love the organic nature of working with Simon the most, but it also caused a number of challenges. First, we were ahead of the page count and the completed issues, but that as always fell away to other projects and distractions sprinkled within, and trying to fit in between this beautiful 100-page beast. I would work fairly loose, very rough script, with all the final storytelling and writing done with my layouts. But once the pages rolled from Simon, with his addition and tweaks, there would be a lot of figuring out how to make it all work as a story. The story, that's always a challenge for me. I'm far from a solid writer. I have fun ideas, some work well, some don't as well. But I always have fun, and I feel like that comes through. This adventure was designed to be all fun. And looking back at all the plot holes and mistakes, I think it holds up wonderfully as one of the most twisted TMNT adventures out there. Personally, I had a hell of a good time putting together assignment, but we had a bunch of cool help. I want to thank Steve Levine for lettering and squeezing my script around and into Bisley's pages. Hey, Steve Levine, man, my favorite letter of all time, I guess, at this point. Ellen
All right.
Yeah. Ellen Sullivan Farley of Altered Earth Arts for such a killer coloring job. Debatable. I want to thank the awesome Gary Richardson for all his support and butt kicking to get stuff in on time, and Clyde Nee of the old in-color department also for the film processing. Man, you don't hear anyone talk about film processing anymore. That's done, right? Like now,
yeah, that is
offset digital printing, you know, film processing. Most of all, I want to thank the incredible Eric Larson of Image Comics for stepping up and making this entire project possible. An amazingly talented guy and a true creative brother in arms. That is true. That is true. For this edition, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to the entire IDW. Okay, whatever. Fuck IDW. Okay, that's all, folks. I hope you enjoy the Crazy Rich UK Joes, blah, 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 blah. By the way, this tank is how Simon and I get back and forth to the water. Now, this looks like an old Sherman from World War II. And I say that I'm not an expert on these older tanks, but I renovated one of these once in the Army. I had to sandblast one of these down. Like, took a month.
Oh my god.
Yeah. They're like, you're an artist. Guess what you get to do? So, and look at that. Look at Kevin Eastman with his fanny pack.
His manny pack.
Yeah. Photo by Julie. There's the Julie Strain credit. Not planned, folks. I didn't plan it, but there we go. This is the art on the back cover, which I think is pretty dope. She never gets that mask in the comic. That's interesting. And then I just thought this was one of the printed versions, I think Spain or something, or France. But I thought the way they put the lettering in looked cool.
There's so much stuff you can do with this book.
Yeah, when people go, Rob, you pack a lot of stuff in. I'm like, no, man, this is how comics used to be. You know? Look at that.
Fuck
a focal point.
Ought to be.
Right. All right, folks, we're going to get to it now. So, really quickly, I wanted to start off by complaining about the color. So, on our left, we have the color guides, hand done by Steve Levine. Now, on the right, we have digital colors. Circa 1994 or 6, depending on. So, the first book was published. Was Casey Jones and Raphael the first issue, or is that something else? Okay, that was the first issue.
Yeah.
And so that's 94. And then it sits on a shelf for a bit and then doesn't come out till 90. Because I didn't pick it up till 96.
2 years it sat on the shelf like until
Right.
2, 3, and 4 came out in 96.
And it got repackaged as body count.
Yes.
But look, is this a colossal difference? No, but I do think because there isn't a giant well, you know what I mean to the average person. But look how good the rendering on these turtles look. I know. Look, I know, man, and that's why I'm saying,
the
like,
subtle knee, like the shading on the knee and that sky with that nice water, and then look at that fucking bloody mess on the fucking right.
I understand the limits of printing at this time, but certainly they could have just done the blue line thing, right? Like, I don't know, like,
dude, the Max didn't have. Max looked fine. It pushed the boundaries. It was doing cool stuff, and I've seen transitions like in that panel on the.
Look at these clouds.
There.
Look at these clouds.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about.
Look at this.
Look at that.
Looks like the house is on fire.
Dude, it's a muddy mess. Yeah. That doesn't look like a sunset. It looks a fire. Yeah. And then in the next scene, of course, he's jumping in front of a gigantic.
Hold on, but the worst is like these primary yellows compared to these creams right here.
Yeah.
It just bugs me,
Dial it up to 1,000.
But this airplane versus this one, it's criminal. This is the digital, this is the traditional, and like.
Oh, look at the cloud! Just look at the cloud, the smoke underneath it.
Yeah.
Like, look at how much like weight they have, and then you feel that energy at the top, and that's just like
Photoshop's
a flat
airbrush.
line.
This is the Photoshop airbrush tool from Photoshop 3.0.
So gnarly, dude.
Yeah, folks, we're gonna complain about this, but look at the rendering on the heads compared to.
Gorgeous work, man. That is just a shame.
I do like the line holds, right? I like what they were going for with that, but they could have done that off this sort of thing too, you know. But I mean, these are photocopies that they're coloring, so the paper's warped and stuff. You know, I do wish at this time that I know with blue, people don't understand what blue light printing is, but it was where they would take the inks, print on a non-photo waterproof blue, and then they would print a copy of the inks on clear acetate, like an animation cell, and then register them together and color underneath. They did the same thing on The Dark Knight Returns. That's how that's done. So it's like, I just feel like there had to be a way where that could have been done. And then once they have everything registered digitally, they could have gone and just done color holds, right? Like, you didn't need to, because this, I mean, you can't, like, you know, like compared to, I don't know.
Yeah, like the smoke is fire, and I just can't. It's a butcher job. That cop car bothers me so badly.
Oh, wait, this one?
Yeah. Like, look at the fade on that windshield, dude. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, well, all they had was the gradient tool at the time. That's just
I
a
know,
gradient.
but it's just like,
and
oh my god,
this is classic gradient where like there's banding if you don't, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like it wasn't like a clean, you know. So yeah, I love this layout, this curvilinear perspective layout.
Oh man, that's a bitch.
Yeah,
but
like again, these colors just come off in primaries, and these feel more like cohesive, complementary color schemes, you know.
Yeah, and the coloring is so inconsistent from panel to panel. That's one of the things that always bothered me with body count, is it's just like it seems inconsistent to me. Yeah.
It's one of those things where I'm like, okay, if it's Mirage, right, technically, can we just do a black and white?
I don't know why we've never seen a black and white version of this book, man. Like,
yeah. And I did manage to get some pages. Now, here I do like, again, the color hold on, you know, these things, the gunfire. I do like it.
Yeah.
I do like it. But like, you could still get all this and then do color holds after you register it digitally. Like, the whole point was that registering it was a pain because they had to do it optically back in the day, but you could still line it up pretty, you know. I know someone out there's gonna be like, you don't understand how hard it was at the time. I didn't say it was easy. I just said you could. But look at like the subtle change from yellow to greens on the grass here. And then
look at the subtle shading change that causes the image to flatten on the right there. Like on the left, they look like they have depth.
Right.
Because you have like that subtle movement in
marker.
the blues on the back. Yeah. And then like over on the right, it's just a flat mess. Yeah. Are they running through water that are people?
And this is where I'm like, even in '94, I was a color junkie. So I'm like, guys, this is flattening. Like, if you're gonna do it this way, you may as well go back to 4-color. Comics were colored in marker, by the way. The original Coffin Comics stuff, I met that colorist. He colored everything in Prismacolors, you know. So and I guarantee you, a lot of that Valiant stuff was done with marker too. You know, this Prismacolor. Yeah. So I'm like, I would have just preferred marker with digital touch-ups. You know,
I'd still prefer that now, but yes. Definitely.
Oh, even now. Yeah. But look at this coat. Look at this coat.
I know, dude.
Right? Look at this coat. And then... like,
what's happening? What's happening? They're like, we added a highlight. It's fine. It looks three-dimensional.
Especially this face. I mean, it's almost Peter Chung at a Isk, right? This is kind of like Aeon Fluxy.
Yeah.
And then...
Look at the lack of depth again. You lose all of the sense of how deep those scars are. They look like deep facial scars on the left.
Also,
right?
Not for nothing, because the inks have printed out non-100%, when they put things over, they get these extra darks, and this fluctuation, I think, looks better than just the pure black.
The solid blacks.
Yeah.
I find that a lot of times, man. It's cool, like, the last few years, they've kind of caught on to that for, like, at least for covers, with guys like Gerardo Zaffino and stuff.
Yeah, like this, you know.
Yeah, you see the gradient and they're black.
Versus that, yeah. I get that's how the inks were, but it looks better. In my opinion. So. All right, let's jump to... So this right here is the original art. This is from the original. 22 by 14. Casey Blood Rage. Or Roid Rage. Roid Rage. That's hilarious.
Roid Rage.
That would have been a great name for it. Like if Casey was like juicing up to take on these guys or something.
That's
like,
what I was just thinking. Like, give
yeah.
him some fucking venom.
Yeah, some venom, dude. So, and then Steve Levine did the color guides. Yeah.
And there you could see that they did repackage the first issue by Image as Body Count.
Right.
Totally new image, cover image and stuff. It had been 2 years, so.
Do you want to tell people like what this story is? Because I'm telling you, man, like, look, I'll say this: one of my second or third favorite turtle story is the Mike Bodie drawn turtles, written by Kevin Eastman, where they go to Hong Kong and there's like this restaurant, and it's over the top, kind of like action and characters. It feels like, that felt like a movie was happening, like a VHS imported movie from Hong Kong, and then the turtles show up in it, and I feel like this is doing the same thing, except I have no context for a protagonist other than maybe the Julie Strain Midnight character, when I feel like Casey Jones just needed the Dark Knight Returns inner dialogue bit.
Okay.
Like if Casey just had this running inner monologue, setting up, Raph and I, usually hit the streets, but tonight, this guy's face is getting to hit the, the bar table or some shit like that, like it just needed a character's inner voice to weight it, because I can't tell, why Casey's in this, or Raph at all, like other than they're just there,
That's kind of that's the way they sell it, because it couldn't really, I don't think, I don't know how you would have folded this into regular TMNT.
And there's a lot of these pages where they fight when there's no words, right? And I just always think like Kevin Eastman's work is as equally influenced by Frank Miller as anything else, So I just felt like it needed that Miller inner monologue to make it. I almost wish I'd write it and re-edit this, but it is what it is. It's a good panel, this right here. It's very Sienkiewicz.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah. There's some really cool like stylistic shifts and changes that Bisley plays with in this. Yeah, because like he didn't do a ton of line work comic book as it is. And this was like, working off of someone else's layouts and like super collaborative. It's very interesting to me.
I mean, the 1 point perspective being thrown out a bar with the guys behind him,
Yeah.
But it is, I do like how much is packed into the issue. It's just, there's no sense of like, you don't even get a good exterior shot until like the second or third issue, which we'll cover when we get there. But what I do know, so look, here's Kevin Eastman putting in car bits, into the issue. So that's always fun. I like the Kira light trails and the Steve Levine lettering here. The scree, super good. This is totally Elektra, right?
At 1000%.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I have found whenever I read this book, I have a playlist on my YouTube music for KMFDM instrumentals. Ooh. Right? It's all the KFDM music with no lyrics. And I just put that on. It does feel like another universe, though. This doesn't feel like Hong Kong. It almost feels like this could be in the future, like just like maybe 20 years before Last Ronin or 10 years before Last Ronin,
Yeah, I think this is kind of like running up to, them doing a lot of standalone stuff like that.
But this chick's just on the run, this chick Midnight, and this Johnny Woo Woo guy, this dude's chasing her. And it's like,
yeah, so basically the plot, there's like a Hong Kong gangster chasing a chick. She runs into Raphael and Casey Jones, and like Casey Jones and Raphael being the like people that they are, or turtles and people, interject theirself into the situation seemingly 1000% needlessly. It's never made clear why they feel that need, other than the fact that like I think one of the things they were trying to play up is that like machismo one-upping relationship that Casey
Well,
Jones and
I
Raphael
had a
have.
solution for this in 1996, right? And I stand by it. She's on the run. She just hired Casey to be her bodyguard. But she goes, I thought there's supposed to be two of you. And then that's when the turtle shows up.
Ah, okay.
Right? Because she would need protection. She would just hire him the way, like, because this is like a noir, right? It's a Hong Kong John Woo, but it's also got like noir sensibility. Dame on the run. I need to help the dame. Raph is wearing a trench coat. So rather than hiring a PI to solve a murder, she's hiring she's hiring a bodyguard to help protect her, from this dude. And really not just a dude, but it's just a whole army of guys, like, would be the solution. I would. Look, it's not deep writing, bro, but you know what I mean? I'm just saying.
It would help. It would help contextualize stuff. Because, like, otherwise it's just like Raph and Casey being like, oh, well, maybe we can just one-up each other and be more badass and fight more dudes and help this chick and impress her more.
But you see what I mean? Like, I guess you could say she's Electra-ish, but I just look at this and see Julie Strain, And it's just
oh, yeah. But, like, if you
frustrating.
look at that, tell me that's not influenced by Howard Chaykin. Like that.
Well, look, all modern comics are influenced, but Dark Knight, you don't get the Dark Knight Returns without American Flag, so.
Well, but I'm just saying, like, that body type and stuff, the way that Bisley is portraying her, that is Black Kiss and stuff right there.
Yeah.
Crossed with Frank Miller. It's gorgeous stuff.
And this is the stuff Kevin lays out that I just always, he got from Miller that I just love,
And I love the way that Bisley plays fast and loose. This is okay. So awesome example there. I think that is something that he pulled from Giffen too. Like that, the ability to like just do these weird fucking totally minimalist. Like look at the leg in that last panel.
Right.
What is happening? Doesn't matter. You get the lines down.
No,
and
this is coming out right along like Youngblood issue 6. You know what I mean? And then 96. Actually, this is right before here. This is about a year out from Heroes Reborn, right?
Heroes Reborn, yeah.
So like you're getting like Youngblood 10. Like I hate that I know that, but I do. And then this is so classic Mirage Studio style stuff. Mike Bodie could have drawn this too, Like
Bodie could have drawn a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Still can't.
And then she finally is like, guns. It figures I hate guns. Who's this butthole anyway? That's what I love about Kevin. It's just very Liquid Television, the writing. I always found like this story, like rereading it now, I was like, it's somewhere between John Woo, obviously, right?
Yeah. Right.
John Woo, Tarantino, and King of the Hill. There is a Mike Judgeness to what Kevin does that I like.
I wouldn't deny that. They're both really just blatantly honest creators.
Satirists. So I mean, like there's a satire that they have
but they're
energy.
wholly honest about what they're saying. There's no pretentiousness there.
Right. I like this like weight on this arm up here. So dope.
Gorgeous piece, man.
Look at that realistic gun.
Yeah, I know. Like those definitely like could not have fit into the disposable assassin. I love how it's just like a shadow there. Like here's a block.
Yeah, here. Douche.
Here's a block. Hey, Rob Liefeld can do it. Fuck it.
Were these hand-drawn flares or is that Photoshop over? That's hand-drawn, right?
That's gotta be hand-drawn, dude.
I'm a fear that's Photoshop flares. I'm gonna assume that's hand-drawn. I like this composition here. And look, this is that Steve Levine lettering that I just dig. Even like Steve Levine does all the sound effects too.
Oh,
I wish they had a font of this. So yeah. Look at this. This crashes. It's that sound
and that's
Huh?
Like, that's a total Giffen panel too. The
Yeah, this right
lettering and
here.
stuff, you know,
Yeah.
like, that's something that he definitely you can see that
That's
he's
what I was saying. Like,
taking from Giffen.
who learned? They just influenced one another, essentially.
Yeah, I think it was
Okay.
a very collaborative effort between them.
Yeah, we'll cover in Fantasize, and then here is where Rafa, and this is the most He-Man sword the size I've ever looked. Right, like it's the
Definitely.
He-Man swords. If you remember, the original He-Man sword set, Master Sword set, came with a sword that's split in two, good and
Oh,
a bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had that. Like that was the one time my parents got me some He-Man stuff when it first came out, and that idea never made it in the cartoon apparently. But great idea. But yeah, there he is. Now look, admittingly, you know, at first glance, I'm like, well, not really my turtle. But what I do love about the Mirage stuff is the turtles could look different in every panel, let alone every issue. Also, not for nothing, do you remember when Savage Dragon, there's a whole point where Savage Dragon got the shit kicked out of him and he was like gnarled and crawling on the ground for like an issue or two? He looked just like this. Like,
Just like this.
just like that. Like,
Yeah, that's Larson. You can tell where Larson got a lot of his like veins and that kind of stuff. They start becoming much more apparent.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Bisley
Like his
style.
arms, it's like Savage Dragon is all over that shit.
And then here are the first big 2-page spread. Look at those size, man.
Yeah, they're beautiful swords. Size.
Yeah, right. Yeah, not a big fan of this face. I do like a lot of Bisley's faces in this. This one's not my favorite. But this read well on the page though, you know.
I was gonna say, the movement in this, like the visceral action there is really fucking.
It's just
cool.
that because it had Image Comics on it. I was like, this is not an Image comic, you know.
It's not. It's a Mirage book. It's a
Right.
Mirage book. That's what fucked a lot of people up, and I think it hindered sales really badly, considering like.
Well, it hindered
were-
sales for a few reasons. Okay, one, the mainstream thought Turtles was like the cartoon
Uncool.
stuff, right? At this time,
Yeah.
not me,
Yeah.
but the mainstream.
Yes.
Two, there's no Casey Jones. Like you see this cover, right? This doesn't appear anywhere in the issue. You know? So that's a problem. It's all this other shit you're seeing. And then even when they show up, it's still not quite the same. So it is what it is. But and then three, you know, at this point in time, Simon Bisley, outside of like the DC work, wasn't really lighting up, you know, Wizard magazine on fire, you know? Like it should have been. I mean, it's dope, but it's just the way it was at this point. You know, I think we weren't even at Cliffhanger yet in 96. It was Spawn issue 50, you know, so.
Yeah. I think a lot of that was Bisley just refusing to do a lot of line work. He doesn't like to do line comics line work books as far as I'm aware.
I like this. I don't like that face.
That's
I like
a terrible
this.
face.
Yeah. I like this. This is funny, even though I'm not a huge fan of that Turtles, but I like that he's patooey, right? The tooth. That's great. That's so great.
That stalking panel and that kick, man.
Yeah.
And that is God, that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It really is.
He's fighting a Terminator John Woo dude. Like, it's hilarious. And then, I mean, the last page just stops, you know? Like, it's really weird. I do like that crack, though.
We're out of story.
Yeah, we're out of story.
Over.
I know. So I kept some of these pages in because I forgot there was a CD-ROM comic book anthology featuring 650 digitized pages from characters. I want this for some reason. Even though I own all this stuff, I never saw this. $30 for how much? You know, for Savage Dragon 1 through 10, Vanguard 1 through 6, Free Forward, Super Patriot 1. I want to see what this look like. And I know he made it because this ad is in here for this Savage. Remember I told you I bought a Savage Dragon t-shirt at Comic-Con from Eric Larson?
Yeah.
And my friend cut off the arms, right? This was the
yeah.
shirt. This was the shirt.
Oh, that's
It was on the back, and it was this. Both sides were the same, like mint green color, right? It was a nice shirt, man,
That's so shitty.
and the printing was good too. And it had
They
the
knew
little.
how to make them back then. They actually made T-shirts.
Yeah, it was a solid shirt. I had the stonewash, but I had the stonewash green. It was stone. Yeah, it was really nice. And he cut the sleeves off.
Bastard.
And then the worst turtle designs of all time by Jim Lee.
Oh my god.
The worst. It doesn't get any worse. This is bad, folks.
What is happening?
I know. Some people have nostalgia for this, and to those people, I said at Comic-Con when these were set up at the Playmates booth that year, laughing at these like out loud. I couldn't stop laughing. I was just a little asshole.
Well,
these are great though.
Honest little asshole.
The Dragon figures came out good, but this shit, the fuck is this?
It's Jim Lee. Like, I don't really like turtles. Let's just phone this shit in.
What's up, crafties? Spawn Kills Every Spawn, drawn by yours truly, out on shelves now. Issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, and issue 4, all on the stands. Local comic book shop, you can get them, as well as Amazon, everything else. Plus, on December 18th, 2024, issue 5 drops. Oh my gosh, look, I already have it. It's ahead of time. I got it early for the Christmas season, but December 18th, you can grab it too. And don't forget, if you look on eBay and around, you'll be able to find the Spawn Kills Every Spawn sketch cover. I might even have a few in my store soon with some commissions and drawings and stuff. So go in there. And don't forget about the limited to 500 San Diego Comic-Con exclusive edition Spawn Kills Every Spawn issue 1, featuring my line arts. Wouldn't it be cool if they had done all these as secondary covers? But hey, you know, go bother Todd about it. In the meantime, if you want to support me, help pay the bills, please, folks, go to your comic book shop, pick up some Spawn Kills Every Spawn. All right, and now back to the show. Okay, now we're going to get on to issue 2, folks. So, look, obviously this cover art is clamped. This is a scan. It's not a great one. But it does look closer to this. The original, look how orange. This is from Heritage, too, you know?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know how old that image is off of Heritage though, because
You think they just photographed it wrong?
no, some of Bisley's stuff from around this period, he was playing fast and loose with materials, and it's hard to tell. And
They
it's hard to
faded, like they didn't have the chroma. Because some of those neon pinks don't last, right?
Exactly. They fade out. And if you look at the colors specifically that are missing with those reds and the magentas and like how it's all gone orange and bland, I'm really wondering if this wasn't either improperly stored or done with not archival material.
Right.
Which would not
even archival, it won't archive if you stick it in the sunlight. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, and not even just the sunlight, but like I live in Southern Illinois, so if it gets super humid and then you expose it to stuff, you can lose colors that way even. So,
right.
But yeah, the blues and the magentas and stuff that are like missing, I don't know. Those are the first things that fade not only in sunlight but also in non-archival stuff. So I'm leaning towards the fact probably that wasn't necessarily the best stored or done with the best materials, one of the two.
Fair enough. Still though, fun layout.
Amazing freaking piece. Because he might have even still been using like Doc Martin dyes and stuff at this point, and those things fade gnarly bad. Now that I think about it.
I like how low cropped Raphael's head is here.
I like how he just kind of like fades into the background.
Well, he keeps the height down too on.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's a guy in the last issue that's like super short. He's like 4 heads shorter than everybody in the Asian gang, and he's got a shotgun, and it's perfectly the same size as everyone else and looks comically big on that guy. That's one of the things I respect about Bisley.
I also do love this city shot right here. This is one of the things I do hate about people who use like Google SketchUp for cities. You never can get this when they're doing all computer generated, you know.
Yeah, being able to visualize that though, man, and that's one of Eastman's like strengths in my opinion, because we looked at the layout of this. If you guys remember, we looked at the layout of this, and like that city was fairly well laid out. Not
Right.
not, windows everywhere, but like look at how impressionistic that is.
Right.
So
And
big
then
props to both guys, in my opinion.
I love this.
God.
That is a funny face.
I was gonna say I despise some of his chubby faces. I don't
But I
understand.
do like, I hate it and love this. I love this. Like this, that's funny. That is hilarious.
And that's just a great face.
Yeah.
He's getting ready to eat some pizza right there.
It's a great run pose too. And then this is the kind of stuff that when I say Mike Bodie, this stuff right here is totally like,
yeah.
And I think like that again, it just comes from all the Mirage guys working together so much. Because, Kevin would do the layouts and the Bodie issues, and then Bodie would do it. And then you'd see Kevin change some of his, you know what I mean? Like character layouts sometimes after that. So there's just back and forth from everybody at that time. I love
that's
this.
how Mirage was.
I love
Collaborative.
these cartoony buildings, man.
Look at how scratchy that is, and yet look at how well that works, folks.
Yeah, don't overthink it, man. Don't overthink it.
As a man who loves a million lines on a page, that's not necessarily always going to work well.
See, now what is missing from this is Casey still hasn't worn the mask. I'm sorry, but Casey Jones has to at least have the mask on him or wear it in an issue when there's violence.
I don't understand. I have never understood why from the minute shit started going down, he didn't put on the mask.
Right.
I don't care if it doesn't make sense of like them trying to get around unnoticed or whatever. Fuck that, dude. Read this book. It makes zero sense. I want to see Casey Jones. That's not Casey Jones. That's a dude with a friggin' beard.
It's basically Bisley.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Or at least his perception of himself.
Correct. That's a hilarious face. I love this. That's a good panel too. Do this or die. Kerchak. That to me is the kind of comic books that I like, When I think of like a comic book. Yeah, when I think a little bit of that, or Mahfood to some extent, right?
Yep.
So, and again, this we've seen this layout before, but this is the one where I was like, Kevin had to lay this out, just
And I love how much Bisley ran with it.
Yeah, he still made it his own, like 100%.
You know what I mean? Like you can tell Bisley drew it, but it's like you didn't. That's not a Bisley.
So is Rob Schrab like? I mean, this is the same time, right? Like, yeah, same DNA or just
definitely just same DNA. Right. Rob was definitely not locked into any of this stuff.
Right, same DNA. This is a great shot.
Like he was like into I think the same films and the same kind of music and culture and that kind of stuff that that led to this. So.
Also, like Levine's color design using the blues and the greens, and then keeping them in the cools here, really smart. I actually really like that. And then now we're back to Julie Strain. I like the bag of guns. This looks the most like the first movie Raph Turtle face, the Henson. This actually has that same vibe. What do you take a look around here? With a big pile of money and guns, that's what. Like, that's so good.
I despise the rendering on her fucking outfits so much.
It's that Julie Strain Electra thing, or John Romita Jr.
Cannot get. It's where is that coming? Why are you jamming this on the same page with all of these? Meh.
I know. I do like that when she's in the bathroom. It looks like a fucked up bathroom.
Everything else in the bathroom looks great. What is up with those purples? You talk about over rendering the shit out of stuff and then leaving all these flats. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's this airbrushing and Photoshop. These early Photoshop airbrushing.
It's terrible.
It's tough. Super tough.
Just ugh.
Yeah, I mean, this is why Olaf and them did so many of like the polygon cuts and grads, because it looked better stepped than this.
Oh yeah. Oh,
the blending just looked cheap. I never liked it, and I still don't.
It doesn't even look like blending. It just looks like somebody like spray painted on the top of the art.
This is a fantastic panel right here. The sliding, the Jeep crashing through, the sound effects.
And this might be the best panel to illustrate that, like, that is an Eastman layout. No
Right.
doubt. You know, there's no way Bisley would have ever laid that out. So, like, when Bisley's coming at this, again, look at his incorporation of those ideas that he started using with Giffen, with the large lettering and, like, making them part of the space and,
You,
like, the sparse lining and stuff.
you know what I would have loved to have seen at this time? Bisley and Eastman doing a Transformers comic colored by Cameron Stewart.
Jesus Christ. I just
You
want to
know?
see Bisley do a friggin' Transformers comic back then. Wow.
Yeah. Texaco. And again, this like multiple action happening on one panel, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super
And
cool.
like again, you're seeing like with the car chase, like which is something that Bisley doesn't do a lot of. He mostly does those like static action poses, a car's moving, as opposed to actual car chases. Like if you look at all the smoke that's coming off of the car that's flipping there, and then in the bottom panel, that's all Keith. You know, he's all pulling that from Keith too. Like those simple holding lines to make everything move and work. Because there's a lot of stuff in here that's outside of his wheelhouse.
This kind of cartooning, I mean, it's right up there with Watterson. You know,
It really is. Yeah, it truly, truly is. You know, and like if you look at Bisley's work on like we looked at Slain. So if you guys want to go look at the stuff that he was doing like right before he came to the States, you know, like go look at Slain. And then look at this, and like you'll understand what I'm saying about how I think there was so much like amalgamation between him and Giffen, and it worked so well.
You want to see something funny?
Always.
It's Optimus Prime.
Dude. now he just needs to transform. God damn it.
The only thing I hate about this page is this shit right here.
You don't
Photoshop.
like
they Photoshop that
digital photoshopping.
I know, like what? Come on,
sign in there
just
that kills the entire friggin' thing because it looks all flat and off kilter.
I know.
Come on, Rob.
It's so bad.
Not like it clashes with the brash brushwork that's going on, you know, everywhere else on the page or anything,
or the sound effects, and you know what I mean. Like even this one, like the Texaco sign. You know,
it's handwritten. I know. Like, come on, man.
Must have been a last minute. They forgot to add it, and someone was like, "I can fix it," you know. And then whoever was running the computer, that was like, "See, I did it. It looks great." And everyone's like,
"Yeah, it looks wonderful, awesome."
Now, I'm normally not for this type of like use of a full page spread, right?
What do you mean by this kind of use?
How do I say this? When I've gotten scripts where like there's one full page spread in the issue and this is what they do with it, you know?
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. It's not the only because so much action, I get it, but it isn't because you get this one. But as an artist, you're like, what am I supposed to like sell here? You know? You know, sometimes it is a good idea, right? But I do know writers who make this like their opening page, you know?
Okay, yeah. That would be a really poor decision. I was gonna say I really like this page, but I understand exactly what you're saying.
Right, and you're just like, what are you doing, man? You know, it's smart. It's this far in the issue. That's what I'm saying.
And it's well done too. Bisley adds a lot of personality and backstory with like the keys and the death cigarettes and like
these hands are almost ink like Mark Buckingham over Bacalo, like on Gen X and Death. You know.
Okay. Yeah.
Got some of that kind of Buckingham stuff.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I just really like the way the pictures work as well.
Right. No, the composition sounds a great idea, but I'm just saying, in a lesser comic, this would have been some writer going, "Look, Rob, dude. You know, like, what do you know,
like, what are you doing, wasting a full page on this, dude?
Right.
Especially in the middle of this like bombastic assault of violence."
Yeah. This I like this panel a lot too. The coloring needs better design.
Oh my, I don't. It's, let's just.
Well, even the color guide wise, like just design wise, these need to be like greens here, warms, and then it should be all blues and purples.
Separated into blues and some maybe some light purples and stuff. Yeah, it looks so. Are those in the back? Are they one building? Is that what?
I like how this dude's just chilling up here
above the triple X, the handwritten triple X sign. I might add. I think one of the reasons that sign might bother me too is because like those like hidden signs and stuff have been a staple of TMNT since issue 1.
And Giffen was good at doing it too. This right here, awesome, it's not that clever, you know? Put it that way. It's not as clever as it could be. I like that click.
Yeah, and you can tell the stuff that Bisley did and the stuff that was done, you know, that wasn't done by Bisley. I really like some of his lettering that he did on.
I'm not a fan of the way they colored this gold.
That is hideous.
I know.
I don't even.
I know.
Ken Steesey called and he said to knock it the fuck off because it don't work. Put down the airbrush, son. And this is another thing. Like, look at that last page, like how it shifts into this unrecognizable color palette and looks so out of place next to that other page.
Fun too. Look at the slam. Went vertical.
Oh, it's awesome. Dude, the sound effects in this thing are the layout, the sound effects, and in fact the dialogue placement too, because that's a bitch working with Bisley's stuff.
But Levine lettered like all the Mirage stuff, so you know.
Dude, it's immaculate.
Yeah,
immaculate.
It makes it look easy, like it was meant to be.
It was supposed to be there, and Bisley does not compensate
if we go back,
for that stuff in his art.
If we go back to the layouts, I mean, Kevin is, you know, but as we've seen, even with that on the Turtles pages, if you guys go look at the TMNT autobiography, Kevin will put these in, but then Levine, he'll do one version and then later on do even another version too. So it starts there, but it doesn't end there, you know. And I want to say too, like in the letters column, Larson is the one answering all the questions.
Yeah.
So
Eric is the one who made this happen. As far as I know, both Bisley and Eastman had not disavowed the project, but had washed their hands of it. They were not invested in trying to get it out. They had fun doing it. And then after the lackluster reception of the Image Turtles, Larson like really wanted to intro this as a way to bolster interest in the ongoing and stuff.
The problem is the main TMNT book he did with Gary Carlson and Frank Fosco sucked. So just visually, it wasn't a good book. Like, I'm sorry. I know it has its fans. I was there. As much as I love Turtles, I had to pass. You know, it just wasn't at the standard of Mirage. And the way Larson drew and did the Turtles and Savage Dragon was excellent. So I'm not saying that book had to look like a Wildstorm book or anything like that at all. I just wish at the time they had found someone who the book mirrored more of what was in the Savage Dragon issues versus what it did. And I don't know who picks that up. I mean, I don't know who at this time in 96 was the right guy to do it, who was available, or women. There wasn't a lot of female or women, you know, or comic artists.
There was not a lot of guys jumping at the work. So to be honest, like Gary Carlson was given the job simply because Eric Larson likes him and Big Bang was bankrupting him.
Right. Yeah, I know. He's got a lot of love. But I'm just saying, in terms of trying to make that book profitable.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying it was not there's a reason that series never.
And there wasn't a lot of reliable guys at the time too. So it's not like I could say, oh, I would have Joe Matta drawn. Well, Joe Matta would have drawn like 2 issues and then it would have been a year. So like that wouldn't have got there, you know? So I don't know, to this day, I have thought about this more than I should. You know, even at the time I was like, who could they drag over from somewhere, you know, that would have popped in it the way it needed to at the time to get some attention, you know? And I do think at the time I have to go look at it. Mike Winerigo did Telos around this time, right? Right?
Werngo,
yeah. And I'm like, maybe he would
wow.
have been the guy to do the Turtles bit at the
He
time.
could have really done some interesting stuff. I would have gone totally a different route, man, because like TMNT, I think you probably could have like Image had enough like deep pocket of people that wanted to be involved with them. They could have found somebody from the outside that was just a TMNT fan.
Maybe
It probably would have worked.
But I'm just thinking of someone who could have got the work done and also brought
Would
something
have worked
new.
better than Fosco.
And I think Waringo would have been able to bridge the Image and the mainstream 80s cartoon people, you know?
Definitely. I think that was one of his major strengths. I don't know how good his health was even by that point.
Right. I'm just saying, you know.
No, I'm just pondering out loud. Like, yeah, I totally agree, but I don't know how good his, you know, health would be. Look at how much, man, do I want a fucking line art version of this book.
I know. This is where I went and did my research this time on this one, guys. So this is Bisley's initial inks. You know, look at that hand. Yeah, it's like so good. It's just, but it's so loose, right? Like, and then you see the painting. So does he, because this exists, does he do a photo stat or does he just look at it and redraw it, or how does he?
I don't know how he does it now.
I'm saying here in 94.
How he did it in 1994.
Did he project it?
Yeah.
Did he do a projection?
Like, I think that he is of, especially at this period, my understanding is that he is of the Frank Frazetta mindset, that you do 2 or 3 preliminaries very quick, then you hammer out an ink piece, you take that, you set it next to your easel, and you paint it. I don't think he's using projection or grid or anything like that.
I see. So just redrawing it,
just redrawing it by painting it.
Yeah, simplest solution usually is the answer, you know.
Yeah, and like there's.
But like, now you could take this thing and just print it out in waterproof, you know, ink, right? You're on like an Epson Workforce on 12 by 18 paper, you know, or 11 by 17 paper, and just paint right on top.
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
definitely. But I also know that Bisley likes to work on canvas a lot. So.
Yeah, but this isn't canvas board. You can see.
No. I said I know he likes to work on canvas, so that would probably impact his workflow.
I see.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't.
Yeah, because you're not running canvas board through a printer.
No. You know what I mean? Like, and totally, that's me. You know, making.
I did notice how clean the edges are. Like he had taped them, or you know what I mean? Like pretty clean.
Impressively clean to the point where it may have been cleaned up.
No, it's there. It's because look at that right there.
Oh, you're right.
No, I looked to see. It's the actual shit. Yeah. And you can see here.
Man. Yeah, the line. Yeah, I was gonna say there's 2 of them right there. Yeah.
It's not perfect, but it's very.
Damn.
I mean, the trick is you just take. If you guys don't know, if you tape your edges, all you got to do is just warm them up with a hair dryer for a little bit, and the tape will come right off. So like when we get to this, is this again another case where things faded over time, or did they adjust saturation?
I think if you look at this, it looks like the colors have faded a little bit, and this is really making me think that there's dyes that were being used.
Dyes, because I have a little trick I do for reds, because reds in the even with marker or color pencil can come out weird or dark,
definitely.
You know. And I have a little trick now I do with acrylic gouache that I put over my marker work to get the reds to pop. But even I'm like, I mean, it's light fast to a point, you know, like anything sitting in the sun will fade. So, but I mean, I do wonder if he had just taken like P.H. Martin dyes, you know,
to make it pop over the top.
Right.
Because
they're so saturated, those dyes, right?
Yeah, and it's like there are certain things where you can tell, they definitely overcranked the saturation, but there's stuff like his hand and the shadow on his hand that if they had cranked Casey Jones, like if you look at his hand there on the left and the right, you should lose way more of that like bent hand in the shadows, those fingers, than like you are if they're just
right.
cranking
It's
the
still dark.
saturation.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and you can see the subtle variations too in the light and dark there. You see what I'm saying? The green, what appears to be green and yellow, and there's like a little bit of red right there, and it really fucking pops on this other piece, and it just does not look like simple contrast adjustment.
Interesting.
Looks like
good
fading
Raphael
to me.
though. Good Raphael though.
Amazing Raphael. Terrible Casey Jones.
I wish all the book looked that.
God,
I do like the art in the book. I'm being facetious, but you know,
needs to be a line art book, but yeah.
And again, this is just pure. I know they're like it's blood and guts, it's violent, but this wasn't. This was probably extreme for Mirage Studios, maybe, or their sensibilities, but wasn't that extreme compared to what we were seeing in Spawn and some other books at that point.
Maybe not Spawn, but like.
No, man, I was reading
man.
Spawn. There's some ultra violent stuff.
No, that's what I said. Maybe not Spawn, but like, I don't know, man. There wasn't like a ton of mainstream. Not that
I wasn't
Bodycount
like
was
blown away. Like, I didn't
but-
find this super violent compared to. I don't know. Like, I just remember at the time, I'm already watching Ninja Scroll and shit, you know?
It
So it's
reminds
like-
me of them trying to do Jeff Darrow, to be bluntly
enough.
honest.
Fair enough.
I
The
mean,
well, Rusty wasn't out yet, right? Hard Boiled was Hard Boiled out by 96? Was that 96? I think so.
I think that was 95. Yeah,
Yeah.
95. Yeah.
That did take like holy shit.
Yes.
This right here is such a Kevin Eastman.
And I love the dude. Oof. The lettering above his head. Oof.
Oof. These two chaps are like, oh, nice.
Totally nonplussed.
And this is Bisley and Kevin doing Sin City.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
This villain sucks though. Like
He's
that's
terrible.
that is a negative to the series. It's like they don't fight anyone remotely memorable, you know. I always thought because he had this cybernetic thing, maybe he should rip his skin off and just become full Terminator and turn into like the mech from RoboCop 2 or something.
Would
But
have been way too cool, man.
Like, look at this. Like, this is, you know, like
I
he's
know.
like he is like a Terminator, but he never really goes full. You know. These are great. Bisley would have done an awesome Dick Tracy book,
Oh my god.
right?
Oh my god, that would have been so gnarly, bro.
One of my secret wishes is an R-rated Dick Tracy.
Oh, don't get me started, man. Dick is like such an underrated. I've always loved Dick Tracy. Always. Him and Popeye are
Condemned.
like my jam.
There's one thing out of here. Oh, we'll get to it. But this is like classic
See, the
Sunset
actual
Boulevard.
lighting, the coloring works there.
Yeah,
Why
well, I
couldn't
mean,
you
yeah,
do
but
that-
the rendering, I bet you this looked better in the color guide though. Like,
It looked infinitely better,
Yeah.
but like, look at the sky. At least there's some subtle variations of the purples and blues, and
Right.
I don't know.
Man, they
Infinitely
were
better.
coloring this with the mouse though. I have some sympathy for Photoshop artists at this time. You know. It was super hard. I was using Photoshop in '96.
I don't care how hard it was. It looks like shit.
It's just like I think everyone thought they could be Steve Olaf or Brian Haberlin
They
or Joe
did.
Chido, you know, and they couldn't. That's basically
Nobody
it.
could.
Right? Or Kiko.
Like that's the reason that they
This right here is where I'm like, finally we get an exterior shot, and I think this is absolutely brilliant.
Dude, look at the design and the warping on perspective there.
It's
and,
Invader
like,
Zim, right? Yonan Vasquez. I mean,
Yeah.
this is my jam. All of this. Yeah.
This is the genius of Bisley.
Can you imagine a little Spawn up here on the roof with the cape?
I can.
Yeah.
Man, can you
Look-
imagine
look at-
Bisley doing a Spawn?
Look at this dude. Look at this dude.
I love the little lines showing where he's looking. That's awesome.
Yeah. And all these graves that are just like stacked up.
And I love how they're like some of them are tipped over and like the perspective is changing and shit.
they're bigger than cars. Like,
Yeah, exactly, dude. Like, who cares?
Yeah,
Like, let's just get this shit in here so you know what it is.
I'm with
But
you.
tell me those aren't Keith Giffen clouds.
Oh
Look
yeah,
at
that's what I was
those,
saying.
You
Like,
know, and look at like Trencher and tell me
Right.
that ain't Keith Giffen clouds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just the brilliance.
And there's this line where he goes, where is it? He goes, looks like something out of that Crow flick. Which is funny because if people don't know, like, Kevin Eastman was the first publisher of The Crow. Like,
I don't know how people continue
they don't know.
forget that.
They don't know that. They don't know. That's great.
Good hand, man.
Yeah, it's good. Let me give you the FU and do it in perspective. This shit's all weird, man. This whole part of the story. They go to this church and speak to these, like, I almost feel like we're in Road Warrior, or now we know Fury Road with some of this stuff.
Yeah, kind of crossed with like some Escape from New York style shit. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Look, this sun has a face. Yeah. I mean, I do that all the time, so it's like,
I love that Miller shot of the guy getting shot in the face. Like, yeah, we love Sin City, guys.
I like the ha ha ha. But
And
yeah,
you
we're
can tell that's
100%. This is all like George Miller shit right here.
Yeah. Yep.
100%. Which is great. It does feel like it's flying through the air.
The bent axle.
That's not easy to do, man. Guys, go draw cars flying through, whether they're accurate or not. Like that is hard. Like, this is hard boiled, right? Like,
yes. These are the panels where you're like, this is Jeff Darrow.
This is why I was also saying Mike Judge, because it looks like Daryl, you know, from was it Daryl? Who's the guy with the red hat in King of the Hill?
Dale.
Yeah,
it's orange, by the way.
It's a red hat. Shut up.
It's orange.
Dale would have, he would have. I rewatched the first 3 seasons. He would have.
He definitely would have. Yeah. My daughter's named after that show.
He's already spewing out Alex Jones conspiracy theories. That was when Alex Jones used to be on Texas Public Access. He was like Crazy Bob or whatever his name was. Like, he'd like carve pumpkins and stuff. Oh man, it was weird. Yeah, he was a weird guy. This right here is the most unique double page spread out of the whole thing too. I feel like when we get to this, a few things are happening creatively. One, they're getting into like a rhythm where they're experimenting now, you know, and the story is becoming visually its own thing. Two, I really feel like Bisley was reading Trencher.
Yep.
You know, because like this, you know,
dude, it is literally taken from the fonting on Trencher.
If I could have done anything to add time to their schedule, right? I was like, well, I got a suggestion, but this is going to eat up a day. Is I would have made all the borders, the bullet shells from this fight.
Oh, that would have been dope.
I would have done bullet shell borders here. Yeah. Just on this page, never again. You know?
Never again.
Yeah.
Ever. But here.
And this is great, but this happened. This is the last page of the 3rd issue. This is why this series becomes difficult in terms of sales. You know, beyond people can go, well, the market fell in. I hear you, but I'm just saying about the buzz. You know, it was like there was no Casey and Raph doing the thing. You know,
there was no buzz around Bodycount.
Yeah,
there was nobody excited about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles stuff coming out on any kind of major scale by this point.
The only time I'd see it, the next time I would see anything come across in terms of hype was when Joe Mad did that piece in Wizard Magazine.
In Wizard Magazine, exactly. Right. Yes, absolutely.
You know who would have also done a really great Turtles comic, now that I think about it, for Eric, and would have been in the mix and could have pulled it off, and Eric would have worked with them and loved it? Jeff Matsuda.
Dude, Matsuda probably would have really been able to crank that shit
Because
out
he ended up
too.
doing all the designs on that Turtles cartoon later.
That's exactly what I was just
Yeah.
thinking. Yeah.
And Matsuda went to draw the Wolverine series that Larson wrote at Marvel like 2 or 3 years from this time. So that's who I would have put. I would have had Matsuda with Eric
a good
writing. I get he wanted to help Gary, but I don't know. Let Gary write Freak Force or some shit. So. All right, and we're gonna the fourth issue, and this is where Julie Strain comes out to play. But first, check it out, Uncle Jerk, the inks. This is what I call the Liefeld cover, but it's dope, right?
Yeah, it's the one that got used for the trade and all of the promo stuff. And
when you say Image Comics Turtles, this is what people are thinking.
Exactly. It promised so much when you saw this image, and like you picked up Body Count 1 through 3 and you were like, really? I also love how he's missing the tooth that you see him spit out in the earlier fight, by the way.
Yeah.
Like Bisley loves to draw him missing a single tooth usually, and it's almost always on one side or the other, and it's because he got it punched out in that one panel, and I just have always loved it. And the fact you pointed it out.
Yeah, I like the way this sword looks here too.
I love everything about this.
I understand, but I was trying to point one specific thing. The speckling too is really good on this. That's where they take that saran wrap, right?
Oh,
and lay it down and peel it off. Yeah, you get that. Yeah, and if you just do it in like one spot, like maybe here or there, and you don't have to do it all over, and it just sells.
And see, look at how much less washed out this one is.
You know why? This was done in oils.
That's what I was getting ready to say, because this is purely oil.
This is a blown out scan. This is not accurate anyway.
That's dang near exactly what it should have looked like. Not quite that good, but see, and that looks great. And they look probably like they were all, And
this is the stuff where I'm like, see, Stephen Platt, you should have gone more Bisley and less David Finch,
Yeah.
I did that.
Let's
remember when you were like, I'd never just seen the Turtles unload before. I'm like, really? You haven't? Like,
well, you know what I mean. In this series, one time.
Right, but look at them, man. They're ninjas, both with guns. They should have just opened the series with this. Would have got a lot of heat.
Well, this should have been the entire series. Why isn't this the whole series again?
Because Julie Strain.
So utterly fucking confused.
I'm only complaining, folks, because you got to understand at this time, anytime I saw anything to do with Kevin Eastman and heavy metal, Julie Strain would appear as a heavy metal barbarian chick somewhere, Just
you mean everywhere?
Everywhere, dude. it just really irked me to no end. This is a great.
And look at how great that Casey Jones is. Why have we waited 3 issues to see this? Stop it.
Yeah, it's a problem. Great face. Although he's not missing the tooth.
Oh, truth. Yeah. I don't think he ever basically is in the comic, but for like his covers and
should have. That's a detail I keep. I know me. I spit a tooth out, I keep it. So, but I love this Levine lettering stuff.
I don't know if that is,
or if it's Bisley. Okay, it could be Bisley. Whatever it is, it's Kevin Eastman and inspired. Like whatever this is, it's like that.
That's
Giffen,
all
Bisley.
Really Giffen.
Okay,
yeah,
I'll give you that. But I just love it.
No, I'm saying, but I want to give
and here she is.
Bisley credit there because I really think that's Bisley.
Here
you can tell his lettering.
Julie Strain.
Damn it, is that an ugly page? Why do I have to look at this in Body Count? I don't care.
Look how much work I put on this.
I know. All this dry brush. Where is my shot of Casey Jones like this?
I know.
Nah, I forgot he doesn't have jugs.
What if he did get jugs? Like I mutated, but I only got the jugs. It's Casey Jones Jugs is the name of the series. See, that's
Casey with a K now, sweetheart. Double D Casey.
Now this is where I'm like, now we're back in this like George Miller thing. Yeah. Right.
Oh, he's swapping back and forth, man. Like page to page. You're like, what's Huh?
These are good though.
Oh, great. Fucking beautiful. The cartooning on that, man.
And this is shit to me.
I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah,
Why
no,
is this in my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle? God, go away.
yeah. That's a great. That's a Kevin Eastman layout if I've ever seen.
Oh, damn, Skippy. And
Good
that's
use.
a Miller.
Yeah.
Like, that's a Miller layout if I've ever seen one.
Yeah. Same
You know
with
what I
this.
mean? Yeah, exactly. Like, I can guarantee you those are swiped from Daredevil panels.
Frank Miller could do to go back and look at some of this stuff.
Oh,
I
Frank.
mean, look, this is a great panel, but it's like he should be losing. See how she's cutting him off? He should be losing his skin in the under exoskeleton. The Terminator shit should be throughout the fight.
You know what should really be happening? Is
I
like
know.
maybe
I know.
Casey Jones or like Raphael should be
I
fighting him
know.
because I don't care
I
about
know.
either one of these stupid characters.
I know this is. I mean, it's
We
just a
build
joke.
up. We build up for 4 issues to Raphael to like rampage with like Casey, and it's like, what does he do during the main battle? He cries over a
cries.
shot Casey. God,
And it was a
on.
joke. Hey, my lucky hockey stick protected me. I didn't get shot in the heart. And I just all this shit. I'm just speeding through it, folks, because it's you don't care about it when you read it. Put it that way.
No, you will not. You will not. This is a visual spectacle and nothing else. And like
I'd love
at
this
least a quarter of the visuals, you'll be like, me. The other stuff is mind blowing. Truly mind blowing. Look at that, man. That is such a great panel.
This is Bisley,
dude.
he's just bored. You know, he's like, I'll just like, what the fuck is this? You know, he's just bored at this point.
He's doing a Ralph Steadman illustration.
Right.
Like that is Steadman 1000%. He does that every once in a while.
That's how I feel, Raph. That's how I feel.
Yep. That's how we all feel.
And this feels like that Bodhi issue right there. I like this little FedEx
yeah.
man. The FedEx man that pulls up. It's so fun.
I love how it's an actual FedEx.
Yeah, they didn't like change the name or nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it isn't ZX or, you know, Eastman Studios. That's cute. Look at that.
Proto dog there. Gotta have the.
This is like very infanticide. Yeah.
Yes. And then like with some very strange hyper weird line work over the front of it.
Look, that's what a properly drawn sign looks like.
That's why I'm wondering, like, what the fuck happened in that earlier issue? Somebody had to have forgotten, or maybe like it was just drawn at the wrong angle or something.
Yeah, someone forgot. I'll put money on that one. And then that's the 4 issues. You want to look at some black and whites really quick?
No, yes, absolutely. I want to look at some black and whites.
Here we go. Here's some inks. I mean, don't want to talk about Steadman.
Oh yeah.
Not a
The
ton
line
of
work
whiteout.
isn't it? What's up?
Not a ton of whiteout though, but I mean, there's some here, but you know, not a lot.
Some, but as far as I know, Bisley's not a big fan of that, man. Like he's very much like
I think he's using
got stuff-
Sharpie right here.
he dude, he's gotta be.
Yeah, it's like Sharpie.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not wasting my India ink. Sharpie this.
This is the hold on, let me rotate that. This is the 2-page spread. It's a 2-page spread done on 1 page, so they enlarged it.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Look at how much better that looks.
and he drew some weird shit right here.
Not Simon Bisley.
These aren't image boards, are they? This is like Mirage Studio stuff. Look at that, South Northampton telephone.
Oh,
Look at that.
yeah.
Oh my God, there's a telephone number. Call it. Look, there's a fax. Someone fax that. I want to see if it's still in use. Right there, folks. Yeah, not a lot of whiteout though. You see like a little here, but a lot of that, I remember back in the day, a lot of guys were doing that veinage, like that Capullo veinage with whiteout. You know?
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, he was never a fan of that. He does
Interesting.
not like reductive coloring, as far as I know. Cause like, but that's
What the fuck is this? This isn't from this book.
no, it's not.
That is not from this book. It's nice, but I don't know what that got labeled incorrectly.
There's the Stedman page.
Right.
Like, look at that, dude. Even the cigarette is shaped like a Stedman cigarette.
Right.
The eyes, that neck, the contortion there, like a huge Adam's apple.
Dude, this was 2004 Heritage. This is like one of the first things that ever sold on Heritage.
This book was legend, man. It was legend.
That or
And
they
you
were trying to
couldn't
get
get it.
out. That or they were trying to get rid of their shit quick at the time. They're like, it's
Well,
done.
no, it was legend, and you couldn't get it, so nobody knew how like hit or miss this was. My God, this makes me need an artist edition of this book.
See, this is again this type of Stephen Platt, the Bisley Platt.
Yes, yeah.
There's that panel right there. Now that is white out.
Yeah, I was
That
gonna
looks great.
say, wow, that looks crazy
Yeah.
with no color.
And then the page where they actually do the thing.
Now that one works a lot better with color.
Well, you get the American mask idea too.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's funny to me he didn't ink any of that in.
Yeah, doesn't this kind of like Lionel Francis Yu might have been looking at some of that?
It was just
Yeah.
a little bit.
He might have been.
He might have been looking.
This
at
is
it a little-
Bisley's doing that Liefeld nose.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That's such a great raft, man.
Yeah, it is great. It's just would have been nice to see Raph actually pound the shit out of some shit versus.
I don't.
Julie
Yeah,
Strain.
I know. Would have been like the point of the book, but yes, that's true. Look at the bullets; those are all trencher bullets.
Right.
Oh, those are all trencher bullets. I've never noticed that. Wow. Oh man, because he's like even warping them more than he normally does. Wow. Okay. Crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty loose when you really think about it. So it has a gestural
Dude.
quality to it.
Every time I see his line work, I'm like angry because it's so fucking loose.
That's hilarious.
That works so much better there than it did in color, though.
Like I was telling you before when we were looking at Valiant's colors, especially like in Deathmate Black and stuff, or Red or whatever, and it was like you see that marker work. At the time, I was like, it's not poppy and flat, but now I look at it, I'm like, yeah, I wonder if those Valiant guys would have done a better job. And
Couldn't have done a worse job.
I think the Valiant colors were underrated. This Jesus kills him. It's hilarious. No, not Jesus.
It's that, oh Jesus is like his
Yeah.
fucking.
Well, I gotta rotate this.
Man,
The
that's
He-Man sword.
gorgeous. God, I love that damn picture.
You gonna do a recreation of this one?
I was just thinking that.
Yeah,
right now.
I think
was
you
like,
are,
oh
yeah.
my God, I have to draw
I
this
know.
now, dude.
I can hear in your voice. I'm like, you wanna,
Oh, it'd be so
Like-
fun.
Look,
And I've
even
been
the
rocking
shadow,
some-
even the shadows have teeth.
Oh my God,
How great is that?
that's just so dope.
This is doable. This is not.
Anything's doable. I'll spend 60 hours on something. I don't care.
This is great. I like the Claus Jansen likeness.
Yeah, it's like almost Barry Windsor Smith too with those lines.
Yeah.
Like,
It's just a shame it
very-
features these fucking characters.
I don't even. Yeah, I know.
Again, the Terminator bit.
And how much cooler does that panel look in fucking black and white than it did with that shit ass?
He used a
coloring?
shitload of
Shitload of
whiteout.
whiteout. That's what I was just getting
Yeah.
ready to say. He was drawing that panel and he was like, you know
This-
what I'm not gonna do? All these natural white breaks. Fuck
Yeah.
that.
That's just too much work, man.
yeah. He was just like, nope.
Was this like Morrissey here?
That's gorgeous, man. John
Telling you.
McCrea.
Telling you, man. Yeah, McCrea.
Yeah.
McCrea.
Yeah, there's a little bit of whiteout. Yep.
These are a little bit more clamped, not as high res.
Yeah.
2004, again, they sold early.
Man, those are fucking cool.
Imagine if there was no talking, it was just this for 4 issues, and he explained nothing.
So, like, basically the comic.
Yeah, but it's not them for 4 issues. It's all this other shit.
Okay, I got
just
you.
Raph and Casey killing people for no reason. You know?
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, like don't even conjure up a story. Just 4 issues of that.
That's what I was hoping for.
And yeah, again, like this is Bisley doing these sound effects.
Yeah, it's definitely, and see, you can definitely tell, man. You know, because it's just like he's got this weird scratchy bubble thing that he started on.
You
Logo.
called it.
I'm a tad bit obsessed with him, so. And I know he likes to incorporate that stuff into his work so that it doesn't get done like all cookie cutter looking. My God, that looks so much cooler in black and white, though.
Boot to the head.
Boot. I love the fuck.
Yeah, the fuck is pretty good. And then this is Kevin's. This is Bisley stuff. Yeah, Bisley's.
Yeah, that's Bisley's line art for the
2018.
It's like a convention exclusive hardcover.
But it's the cover on the trade for the 2018.
Yeah. Well, it was a convention exclusive print that they did.
Do you know what this is?
No.
This is the Biz and Buzz action figures. You can get this on Kevin's site. And you see this comic right here?
Yeah.
I colored the interiors.
What?
That's if you'll get this little comic, and inside I do the colors. So a little self-promotion. I think it's $35 on Kevin's site. So if you want to get me coloring Kevin Eastman stuff, that's where you can get it right there.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I know, right? I got a little lucky that time. There you go.
Great guy.
Yeah. And that's it, folks. That is everything to know about body count. But there you go. That's that. So thanks for wanting to do this, Uncle Jerk. This was fun.
Oh, dude, thanks for letting me look at body count with you. I love this series. I appreciate it.
And as always, Uncle Jerk, be bold.
Keep cartooning.
What's up, crafties? Make sure you follow me, Sketchcraft, at YouTube and Instagram and everywhere else on socials, as well as Jerk Comics on YouTube and on Instagram and all the other socials. You can also check out my stuff at sketchcraft.com, so you can find my art, and you can buy my stuff at shopsketchcraft.com. If you'd like to get some comics I've made, Spawn Kills Every Spawn, issue 1 through 4 on racks at all your comic book shops right now. Issue 5 out December 18, 2024. And the trade paperback coming to you July 29th, 2025, all the way next summer, but we're going to have cause to celebrate. Spawn Kills Every Spawn. Go get that right now. Support the old Sketchcraft, and we'll see you next time. Peace.